Greetings, and welcome to another journey through the quiet corridors of history. Tonight, we will travel across the vast and often unforgiving oceans of the Age of Exploration, a time of both incredible discovery and immense hardship. Settle in, find a comfortable position, and allow your mind to drift back to a period when the world was still full of unknown places and the lines on a map were drawn with both ambition and a great deal of suffering. We will explore what it was truly like to sail on those early vessels, the dramatic story of a famous mutiny, the lingering mystery of a lost colony, and the hidden world of the powerful merchants who funded it all. Let's begin by imagining ourselves aboard one of the most famous voyages of them all, a journey that would forever change our understanding of the world. Close your eyes and listen as the gentle creak of a wooden ship becomes the rhythm of our story. Imagine yourself in the early 16th century, a young man with a spirit of adventure, standing on the docks of Seville. You have signed on to an expedition, led by a Portuguese captain named Ferdinand Magellan, a man who promises to find a new, westward route to the Spice Islands. It is a grand and noble goal, but the reality of the journey you are about to embark upon is anything but. The ship is a small wooden vessel called a carrack, heavy and slow. You are one of perhaps 50 souls crammed onto its decks, your living space a small section of a shared sleeping area below deck. The air is thick with the scent of tar, damp wood, and the bodies of your shipmates. There is no privacy, no personal space, and the sounds of the ship are your constant companion. The groaning of the timber, the flapping of the sails, and the rhythmic lapping of the waves against the hull. The food is monotonous and often spoiled. Biscuits, hard as rock, and salted pork or beef that has been preserved for months. The water, stored in wooden barrels, quickly grows stale and sometimes becomes foul. Day after day, you endure the same meager rations, and a great weariness settles into your bones. The greatest fear is not a storm, but the subtle, creeping horror of scurvy. You watch your shipmates' gums begin to bleed, their joints swell, and their strength slowly drain away. It is a slow and painful decline, a consequence of the journey's length and the complete lack of fresh fruits or vegetables. The days are an endless cycle of routine. You stand watch for hours, your eyes straining against the horizon. You help mend sails and swab the deck. The sun beats down on you, and the salt spray stings your skin, leaving it rough and chapped. At night, the ship plunges into a deep darkness, and the vast unknown ocean seems to stretch on forever. The sense of isolation is profound. You are a tiny speck on a great endless blue canvas. Discipline is harsh and unforgiving. The captain's word is law, and any insubordination is met with swift and brutal punishment. The long months at sea wear on the minds of the men. There is no news from home, no word of the world you left behind. The only contact is with the men around you, and as tensions rise and frustration mounts, small disagreements can escalate into larger conflicts. Magellan's journey was a monumental achievement, but for the average sailor, it was a test of endurance. A long, quiet struggle against the elements, against disease, and against the crushing monotony of life at sea. The story of their triumph is often told, but the quiet suffering and the constant dull ache of a life spent in cramped quarters on a wooden ship is often forgotten. It is in this quiet suffering that we can truly understand the human cost of these grand ventures. As the gentle roll of the ocean becomes a familiar cradle, our attention turns now from the quiet endurance of the sailor to a more dramatic story, one of ambition, betrayal, and a tropical paradise. We set our scene aboard a different ship, the HMS Bounty, in the late 18th century. The ship, under the command of Captain William Bligh, had sailed to the island of Tahiti with a very specific mission: to collect breadfruit plants and transport them to the West Indies. The journey to Tahiti was long and arduous, but the time spent on the island was a period of blissful reprieve for the crew. For 5 months, the sailors lived in a place of abundant food, warm weather, and a culture that seemed entirely foreign to their strict naval existence. The simple, rhythmic life of the island became a deep contrast to the harsh realities of life at sea. But the idyll could not last forever. When it was time to leave, the crew was forced to return to the strict discipline and often overbearing manner of Captain Bligh. Bligh was a master navigator, but a harsh commander. He was known for his quick temper and his tendency to verbally abuse his crew, particularly his acting lieutenant, Fletcher Christian. The resentment among the men began to simmer, a slow-burning tension fueled by their longing for the freedom and ease of Tahiti. The mutiny itself happened in the quiet hours of April 28, 1789. The ship was sailing away from Tahiti, deep in the Pacific. Fletcher Christian and a group of loyalists, fed up with Bligh's constant berating and the perceived injustice of their treatment, seized control of the ship. They took Bligh and 18 of his loyalists, put them in a small open boat, and set them adrift with a small amount of food and water. What happened next is a testament to Captain Bligh's extraordinary seamanship. Over the next 47 days, he navigated the small, overcrowded boat over 3,500 nautical miles of open ocean, using only a sextant and his wits. His journey, against all odds, led him to Timor, where he finally found rescue. It is a story of incredible perseverance and skill. Meanwhile, the mutineers, led by Fletcher Christian, sailed the Bounty back to Tahiti. But knowing they would eventually be hunted down by the British Navy, a small group of them, along with some Tahitian men and women, set sail in search of a new, uninhabited island where they could hide forever. They eventually found Pitcairn Island, a remote and tiny volcanic speck in the vast ocean. There, they burned the Bounty to the waterline, destroying all evidence of their crime, and established a new, hidden society. The mutiny on the Bounty is more than a story of rebellion. It is a tale of clashing worlds, the strict hierarchical world of the British Navy and the free, abundant life of the South Pacific. It is a story of human frustration and the desperate measures men will take to escape a life of quiet desperation. The final chapters of this saga were not written in a storm, but in the quiet, isolated peace of an island that would become home to the last of the mutineers. From the warm waters of the Pacific, we now sail to the coast of what would become America, to a place of dense forests and marshy shores. Here, a different kind of mystery unfolds, one that has puzzled historians for centuries and whose quiet echoes still linger in the mists of time. We turn our attention to the lost colony of Roanoke. In the late 16th century, Queen Elizabeth I, a monarch eager to establish a foothold in the New World, sponsored a group of English colonists to settle on Roanoke Island, a barrier island off the coast of modern-day North Carolina. The first attempts at colonization were brief and unsuccessful, but in 1587, a new group of 115 men, women, and children was sent, led by Governor John White. They were to be the beginnings of the first permanent English settlement in America. Life on Roanoke was a constant struggle. They were isolated, their food supplies were dwindling, and their relationship with the local Native American tribes was strained and sometimes violent. Governor White, after only a few months, made the difficult decision to sail back to England to gather more supplies and reinforcements. He left behind his daughter, his son-in-law, and his newborn granddaughter, Virginia Dare, who was the first English child born in the Americas. He promised to return as soon as he could. However, a war with Spain, culminating in the attempted invasion of the Spanish Armada, made it impossible for White to return for 3 long years. When he finally made it back to Roanoke in 1590, the scene that greeted him was one of an eerie and profound silence. The entire colony had vanished. The buildings were gone, carefully dismantled, and there was no sign of a struggle or a massacre. The only clue left behind was a single word: carved into a fence post. Croatoan. John White believed this word to be a sign that the colonists had relocated to Croatoan Island, the home of a friendly Native American tribe. He attempted to sail there, but a sudden storm forced him to abandon his search. He never saw his family again, and the fate of the lost colonists of Roanoke remains one of history's great unsolved puzzles. Scholars have long debated what happened. Did the colonists assimilate with the local tribes, seeking a better life and survival? Was there a peaceful relocation that simply went wrong? Or did they fall victim to a more sinister fate, perhaps a massacre by a rival tribe? The truth is, lost to time, swallowed by the forests and the sea. What remains is a quiet, enduring mystery, a testament to the risks and uncertainties of a life on the edge of the known world. As we let the mystery of Roanoke settle in our minds, we now sail back across the Atlantic, leaving behind the grit of exploration for the glittering world of commerce and power. We arrive in Amsterdam in the early 17th century, where the fortunes of a powerful few were built on the backs of those who risked their lives at sea. Our focus shifts to the hidden world of the Dutch East India Company, or the VOC. The VOC was not just a trading company. It was a multinational corporation with its own army, navy, and the power to wage war and make treaties. Its headquarters in Amsterdam was the nerve center of a vast global network. Here, in the city's elegant townhouses and bustling counting houses, lived the men who controlled the flow of spices, silks, and porcelain from the east. Their daily lives were a world away from the cramped quarters of a ship's deck. Imagine a wealthy merchant, a member of the VOC's board of directors. His day begins not with a call to stand watch, but in a comfortable bed in a spacious home. He is attended to by servants. His breakfast consists of fine tea and imported sugar, luxuries that were once unobtainable but are now commonplace due to the very trade he controls. His life is one of numbers, ledgers, and maps. He spends his days meeting with other merchants, discussing shipping routes, market prices, and political maneuvers. The scent of coffee and tobacco, both brought in on the company's ships, fills the air. His home is a testament to his wealth. The walls are adorned with rich tapestries, the floors with exotic rugs. The rooms are filled with finely crafted furniture and porcelain vases, each a product of the trade that makes him rich. His wife and family wear clothing made from the finest silks, dyed with rare and expensive pigments. They live a life of comfort and social standing, hosting elaborate dinners and attending social functions that solidify their place at the top of the city's hierarchy. The VOC was a machine for generating immense wealth, but this wealth came at a cost. The company's ships faced the same dangers as the expeditionary vessels. The sailors and soldiers it employed endured the same hardships, disease, and brutal discipline. For every rich merchant enjoying a warm fire in Amsterdam, there were countless sailors and native peoples whose lives were sacrificed for profit. The spices and goods that filled the merchant's home were a product of distant lands and the quiet suffering of others. The story of the Age of Exploration is often told through the grand adventures of its captains, but a fuller picture reveals a world of stark contrast. The grim struggle of the common sailor, the desperate rebellion of a mutinous crew, the tragic mystery of a lost people, and the quiet, hidden power of the men who sat in comfort, their fortunes built on the vast and dangerous seas. And so, our journey comes to a gentle close. We have walked the creaking decks of a carrack, stood on the shores of a Tahitian paradise, pondered a mystery in the American wilderness, and finally, returned to the comfortable homes of Amsterdam's elite. The Age of Exploration was not just a story of brave men and new discoveries. It was a time of immense human struggle, a period where the daily realities of survival were often unforgiving, and the pursuit of knowledge and wealth came at a profound cost. Let these quiet historical echoes fade now as you settle deeper into your own comfort. The seas of the past have calmed, the dangers have receded, and all that remains is a peaceful silence. Allow the thoughts of these historical journeys to become a soft current, carrying you gently toward a restful sleep. Good night.